Okay, I think we're good. Oh no, way too high, way too high. Welcome everybody to this test of the ToLiss A319's Autoland systems. We're going to be testing its abilities in everything from normal Cat 3 conditions to its maximum rated crosswind landing speeds, and we're going to take it beyond that crosswind speed and see how it does. Then right at the end, we're going to try and land it ourselves in some ridiculous weather. With that said, let the first test begin.
300.
So as you can see, these are the worst Cat 3 conditions for visibility you can imagine. We're at 300 feet, just about, a little bit less now, 200 feet above ground. And the reason I wanted to show this is just to show you how well the Airbus deals with it, and also because it's absolutely terrifying when the ground
50,
suddenly comes
40,
out of nowhere
30,
just like that.
20. Retard. 5.
And yet the plane absolutely nails the landing. It does the rollout, and it's just an everyday landing. It's fantastic. So now let's take in some replays, because it's just as impressive when the plane suddenly appears out of the fog from nowhere. Take a look. So here we are, just chilling at the edge of the runway, when suddenly and here's a nice view from behind the plane where you can see it's absolutely perfectly on the centre line. It's a nice gentle flare, and it touches down, gets the reverses open and rolls out with no hassle, nice and easy. So next up, it's time to test the Autoland capabilities in its absolutely maximum rated crosswind Autoland speed. Let's see if it deals with it. So here we are on approach to the same runway, much clearer conditions, but a really nasty crosswind. It's the maximum speed of 33 knots, gusting to 38, and you can see just how dramatically the plane is crabbing here. This is entirely an automatic landing. The autopilots, both of them, are turned on. It's going to flare itself, it's going to try and kick the nose over and roll out all by itself. I'm not going to touch the controls at all. So let's see how we do here.
50, 40, 30, 20.
So a little bit of float as it kicks the nose round quite nicely there. And it's brought us down not too far off the centre line. The question is, can it roll out? So it's tilting the wing over quite dramatically. It's really trying to fight against that wind, but it looks like it's overcompensating. This is still the computer, it's actually taking us onto the taxiway, so I'm going to disengage, and are we drifting? We're drifting. I'm going to try, I think I've got the reverses open, I'll try and get us stopped before the hold line. Let's see the replay, see if we were still on the tarmac. So here it comes in, you can see that super dramatic automated crab. Like I've said, it can't auto-land theoretically in any higher crosswinds than this. So we'll watch it as it passes over us and touches down on the runway. You should be able to see that slight float, but it kicks it over absolutely beautifully there. You can see it's trying to centre it, and here it is when it's tilting that wing down. It's keeping it off the tarmac, but it's still tilting the wing down. And the reverses don't actually open until all three wheels are on the ground, because we were kind of tilted over right there. And here comes the drifting. And there we are, trying to bring it to a stop just before the line. I think the wheels stayed on the tarmac and a little bit over the hold line, but I think we got away with that one. And here we are again, so the wind is now blowing in the opposite direction. We can't even really see the runway because it's hidden behind the A-pillar. We're crabbed over so heavily. Remember, this is just beyond its maximum rated crosswind landing speed. So I've set the winds to 50 miles an hour, which was one of the highest wind speeds recorded in the storms that the UK had sort of this time last year. So I wanted to find out if the Airbus can auto-land itself in these conditions, and we're actually having to look out of the side window to see the runway here, because we are just at that much of an angle, so even in the air we're kind of drifting really. Remember, again, this is all completely automatic flight. I'm not going to take over at all here. So let's see how the aircraft does. Do you think it will make it down? Do you think it will then manage to roll out? Let's find out.
100. 50, 40, 30, 20. Retard. 5.
Again, that float, but nicely kicked over there, but it's really tilting that wing over heavily as it tries to stay on the tarmac, and I think we've scraped the wing there. I think that's a plane crash. Of where are we going now? Like, I can barely get the reverses open because I'm not sure that all 3 wheels are on the ground, and we're just completely out of control. I'm still letting the computer take it, but we are out of control, just sliding across the grass here, trying to get ourselves slowed down and see if we can stop somewhere on this airport at least. And the autopilot tells us it's the end of our flight. It is. And we finally get it stopped on a taxiway in the middle of nowhere. So looking at the replay, it looks like it starts off fairly well. The aircraft is crabbing without any difficulty whatsoever, and as it flies overhead, again, you're going to see that float about 30-40 feet off the runway and that kick over. Fantastic job, but it's just when it gets on the ground, it can't keep that wing off the ground, and right there, we've crashed. So this is our final test. The crosswind conditions and angle are identical to our last Autoland test. As you can see, we're currently in automated flight, but I'm going to disconnect the autopilot and I'm going to make this landing entirely myself, using just the PFD and whatever I can see out of the aircraft windows. So I'm going to look over here just so I can see the runway, but because it's a little bit far away, I'm just going to try and follow the FD, or at least the vertical indicator line on the FD. So nudging it down just a little bit.
Glide slope.
But we're now below the glide slope, so it's coming back up, back up, back up again.
Glide slope.
To kind of get us back on that trajectory we should be.
Glide slope.
Speed.
Flying a little bit slowly, let it speed up, and hopefully we won't fall out of the sky today, guys. But in terms of the left and right angle, it's actually quite easy to control. The aircraft is basically taking care of the crabbing, and I'm just looking at the height. We are actually looking a little bit high. We are actually very, very high here. I was following the FD, not the glide slope indicator, so we need to get that nose down, and I'm sure it's gonna scream sink rate at us. But if you look at the PFD, we're actually nose level, so it's not quite as dramatic as it looks from inside here.
400.
How are we doing? I think we've still got white lights. Sync rate's going off, but we'll get it down. We'll make it. We'll make it. Keep pushing that nose down, level her off a little bit. That's it. We're good. Just float her in, just like a normal landing. Come on. So going back to this view, just so I can see the runway a little bit closer, and try and kick it over for when we actually get down to the tarmac. I'm floating just the same as the computer. Back off the throttle. Floating, floating, floating. And butter, yeah. So even in insane crosswinds, but can we do the rollout? Let's try not to hit that left wing on the ground. Tilt over, keep it on the tarmac. I think we stayed on the tarmac, and I think we avoided scraping that left wing. I'm just going to run it back to the centre line, park her up, take a deep breath, and we can check out the replay. But welcome to Stansted Airport, guys. Okay, so this is the last few hundred feet of our landing here. As you can see, the crab is absolutely fine. Like I say, the aircraft takes care of most of that. It's just when you get a little bit closer to the ground but it becomes trickier as you're responsible for bringing that throttle back, lining her up over the tarmac, kicking it back over. We did definitely float there, but ultimately it was a nice smooth landing. Let's see if we manage to keep that left wing off the ground here, guys. So reverses are open, we are tilting the left wing, but it's not as dramatic as it looks from inside the aircraft. And there we are, we've got all three wheels on the tarmac. Perfect, we didn't go outside of the tarmac. We got a good landing rate. We also got it back to the centre line. So in extreme conditions that are beyond the aircraft's limits, or very close to the aircraft's limits for Autoland, best to land it yourself. And that brings us to the end of today's video, everybody, as we just take one last look at this final landing from behind the aircraft. So let me know, guys, what are the limits that you've taken the Airbus Autoland to? Have you ever had an insane crosswind or catch-free landing in a storm? Have you flown it in a hurricane, for example? So let us know how the aircraft performs. Let me know if you'd prefer to fly it yourself in conditions like these. But until next time, everybody, thank you so much for watching. I'm sure you've liked and subscribed already. And remember, you can always go around. Take care.